Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's pretty dead, so let's have a shout out. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for telling us you're around. And my name is Divya, and I'm extremely excited to be a part of this amazing women entrepreneurship event today. And I have with me a set of some blazing women who, in the so-called techie world of men, are really rocking it on a day-to-day basis. Well, we as women have been known to be sincere, perfectionist, modest, very humble, almost subjugated. But here are the words, the moment we call women and techies, it just doesn't fit in the same frame. Because the moment you say the word techie and the image that forms in your head is 99% not a female. Is that accurate? Yes or no? Say honestly, in terms of close your eyes, and if I say the word techie, what's the first image that will hit in your heart will be a very different one. But here we are talking about not only some of the fantastic work that happened in the tech space and what these wonderful ladies are doing. We're also going to run through what are some of the basic currents that actually operate when you look at women in entrepreneurial roles or women actually that are working on a day-to-day basis. Before we begin, may I request the panel to please introduce themselves. Latika, we'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Latika Raghunathan. I run a company called Mimo Technologies. Mimo essentially is a distribution channel across semi-urban rural India. We have boys and girls on the system who get jobs, very much like an Uberization of tasks. And these tasks can range from very simple value-added services to very complex forms. So we're in the B2B business, so financial institutions, retail companies, distribution companies essentially push out work to us. And whoever closest in that specific PIN code picks up the task and executes it for them. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so that's...
Thank you so much, Latika. Welcome. Manal.
Hi, my name is Manal Anand, and my company is called Guru Q. It's a platform to connect students and parents with tutors. We provide quality tutors, they're home tutors and online tutors. We actually ensure that every tutor on our platform goes through a rigorous registration process, which includes a proficiency test, various background checks. So whatever tutor that you do select is verified, and of course, at a later stage, if you have to replace the tutor, you want to change a tutor, GuruQ takes ownership of all of that, and we provide various other value-added services to both the student, parent, and of course the tutor. So yes, we have tried to create a platform for the Indian education space that has actually global standards, but also will be the best fit for the Indian market.
Thank you, Manal. Welcome. Priyanka.
Thank you, Divya. So I'm Dr. Priyanka Mokshmar, and I lead a manufacturing company called Vayu India. So we manufacture innovative technology that is going to replace air conditioners from the world. So we do use refrigeration cycle, but we don't emit heat in the environment, and we save around 85% of customers' electricity as well. And we manufacture it from Indore. And I started in 2015 with a small startup, and by selling our own house, putting in all the money into the business. And today we are a company having 24 city operations with our dealers network, and acquired our own land rather than buying our own house for factory. So that's about me.
Thank you, Priyanka. Welcome. Shweta.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. And I am the founder and director of TechShark Labs, and it's a cyber security company. So we are providing awareness to all the students, senior citizens, and I think all the generations, awareness about cyber threats and how we can protect ourselves. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Welcome, Shweta. Sukirti.
Hi, my name is Sukirti Gupta. We are creating a media platform for women, specifically targeting them, called Sipping Thoughts. A thought is all that it takes to change the world. That is the idea that we began with. This is my third venture that I am on. So prior to this, I was the CEO of Jagran New Media, which was in partnership with the Jagran Group. Before that, I've had a big failure in which I tried to create a venture in the hotel space. I worked for leading companies such as Nokia and Dell, but I've also worked for startups in the US, mostly North Point Communications and iScale, which kind of was an Akamai lookalike type of company. So I've seen the big companies and the big corporates, seen a lot of the startups, and also have done my own startup plays.
Great, thank you so much, and a warm welcome to everybody on the stage. I think let's kick this off, and from a tech point of view, or generally the employment point, Latika, I want to start with you, and saying you're working in this amazing spectrum of rural and urban India, and also with all your global experience of you working. How do you perceive women really taking up, jobs or employment essentially? What is the take? Is there a commonality of pattern that you see that irrespective of the socioeconomic strata or the geographies that we're in, is there some commonalities, or what is your perception of this entire piece?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yes, I think across the field, it's a little disappointing because when you recruit boys and girls, you're not really looking at gender. I think we recruit based on what is the skill, what is the level of intelligence or sincerity towards a particular topic. And then you train a person through the line, and then it gets very disheartening when the girl tells you, I'm going to quit because I'm getting married. So then, the feminism in me wakes up, and I have to give them a big spiel about how you don't have to quit a job because you're getting married. Boys don't do that, so why do you? And the pattern that you generally notice is that most of them look at me firstly like I'm crazy, because I love the job, and I'm not giving them enough grace marks to understand the importance of marriage, when actually that's not the case. I genuinely believe you can do both. And I think it's the pattern you see across the field. And we hire more than about 100, 150 people on a regular basis. And you'll find that after 2 or 3 years, the women would start quitting jobs because they're either getting married. Most of them, if they stick through marriage, they stick through pregnancy as well. They don't quit. But the real biggest hurdle, I feel, is that marriage age. And I think it's basically because societally, you've been groomed to say that's your, goal. You've achieved what you wanted to just because you got married. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's all very societal,
I think, would that, how do we break this cycle? What do you feel, could be something, because till we don't have enough people and enough women working, the balance that we aspire for in some way or the other.
Yes, this leads us back to a discussion we were having earlier on when we came up on stage to say, you have to have a sense of self-confidence or self-pride to say, I will earn, or I will be the bread earner for myself. I think if you're given a choice, and I think as kids, I don't know how it comes in, because I've grown up in a household where we were treated equally. But I'm well aware that in school, girls did feel they had a choice. They don't have to work after the school.
So financial independence, not really inevitable, essentially a choice that is being dealt with.
And I think that's unfortunate, because if it weren't that way, you'd make better life skills. You'd make better decisions. You'd do subjects that really interest you. And therefore, then you would pick up jobs that are really your, forte or your asset.
Very interesting. And from that point, where I see women really, if I may say, diverting out from a normal workplace environment and saying, while I'm working and everything is growing great and I'm growing, but I'm getting married, I'm going to start a family. And somewhere at the back of the mind, I'm not supposed to put the food on the table. So, might as well just take a break, take it easy. We also discussed, not many women want to be pressurized. What do you feel?
Yes, I think there is that lack of, I don't know if ambition is too big a word, but there is a lack of drive, I think, So that's why I say it's disheartening, because you train girls and boys equally for a certain function. And it's possible that the girls are actually better than the boy. you know. But he takes the lead because those few years, and you know, like we were discussing earlier, in the tech space, if you give up on your career for a few years, you've missed the bus in a way, you know. So you need to upskill yourself. You need to be in the game, and that will only happen when you have that drive in you.
Especially in the tech space. I
Self-drive.
mean, if you're out for 2 years, you may be running into new technology patterns completely. That gets me to Sukirti. Sukirti, we were talking about and saying, while marriage is another thing, well, we say motherhood is the ultimate, you know, ultimate heaven, ultimate salvation that we are looking at. It's very interesting to see that irrespective of how society is driving a woman when she becomes a mother, how organizations also drive a pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I can talk from my own experience. So it was my own company. I was the CEO, and I had children a little bit later in life. But the first question that would come to me, ma'am, shouldn't you be going home? Ma'am, don't you think your kids need you? Society also, you're such a bad mother. You're working till 8 o'clock at night. How can you travel? So all of this pressure, so all of a sudden you're thinking about how do I juggle the fact that I will have children. But these constant messages that come to you, and these are messages that you would think that would come from your seniors, but these are also coming from your juniors, from everybody around the organization, which is already labeling you that, you know what, she's just a workaholic. She's just a bad mother. You know, so these labels actually do, and even in a senior position, do play on your mind. And society constantly reinforces that. So you have to be very, very strong and very sure about yourself that, yes, I have chosen this. I do know myself. I do know that I can manage my family. I can manage my career. I can manage my company. I can manage all my babies very well.
Interesting. And that got me to the point where it said a child's date sheet is actually marked up in a woman's calendar. More than a father's calendar, it is the mother's calendar that gets highlighted when the annual exams come in. Priyanka, while you're here on your daughter's first board exam today, I want you to throw some light on what do you feel?
Absolutely, Divya. So, you know, in fact, you know, whatever Sukriti talked about, I think if you talk from the family perspective and where they see the daughters are looking at the mother as a working woman, coming late from factory, managing production, managing household work also. And then, you know, once you hear the words that, Mama, you know, you must go for this event. Why do you want to stay back for my boards? So this is just a board exam. You must go ahead. You should not drop anything to do something. You know, so that is what is coming inside and getting imbibed in my daughters. So once they grow up, so they are not going to, you know, make these small events look like, you know, they won't compromise on anything because they know that, you know, this is what my mama loves to do. So I should not make her compromise just because of my exam. So she is giving her first exam, but she asked me, you better go and attend this event, you know, you're not missing it out for us. So, you know, that's what, if outer world, yes, they do talk, you know, whatever Sukriti told us, that, you know, she comes late. But I think when you're working, you actually don't have time to listen to them. You are more looking at your daughter and your husband, whether they are happy or not. And if they are happy with what you are doing, my husband says, you know, he says that, Priyanka, please don't stand in the kitchen, you're not good there. You're very good at factory. You go to factory, leave this work. So, you know, what you want to do, you actually make people believe on what you are good at. If you compromise, you cook good food, you want to please everybody, probably you won't be able to please anybody and you will, you know, die of your own self-guilt ki yaar maine itna padhai ki and then I'm doing this, right? And this goes and passes on to your kids also. So rather you should do what you're good at. So that's my experience of it.
Thanks, Priyanka. Well, you talked about a lot about the factory. I think we have Minal here who also runs a big factory setup. So Minal, what's your first feeling of, you know, when you met the laborers for the first time?
So I'll tell you a funny story. So, you know, my family business, we manufacture chemicals for rubber, plastic. So it's a very intricate, chemical oriented, where there are hardly any women in the whole industry. Like when I go for trade shows and all, there maybe, you'll hardly see a woman. Okay, so recently, I mean, I've been doing this for now 12 years. So initially, though, there was no one, but now you still see a few women here and there. But when I joined and I started going to the factory and actually, you know, getting involved in the production and working from the ground up, I realized that no matter what my education was, how qualified I was, I had to earn each and every labor supervisor's respect, you know, by proving myself, proving my education from the lowest employee to the highest employee. However, and I'm a finance major, I studied business, I did all of this, you know. My brother, on the other hand, he was a film major. He went to New York Film Academy. He came back and suddenly the labor was like, sir, 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 sir. You know, so I was like, there's such a huge disparity just because you're a woman. People think, A, you may not be qualified enough. You know, for example, if you let your emotions, God forbid, come out, they're like, oh my God, she's so very dicey and, you know, she's very on edge and there's something wrong with her. Whereas a man can shout, scream, yell, for good reason, bad reason, anything, and he'll be taken, you know, very seriously. He'll be given that credibility. So that disparity is still very apparent in the manufacturing space especially. And I'm sure you also notice this, you know.
Can I just add something
yeah,
to
please,
whatever
Priyanka.
she's saying? So, you know, in fact, in India, what has happened is women were in business just for namesake. So their name was there, chahe wo Lucky Charm ho, chahe whatever it was. When they used to sit before bankers, she was knowing nothing about the figures. When she used to be at factory, she was knowing nothing about the production cycles. Probably women has, you know, put up whatever is coming back to them. So we have developed this over the period of time that we know nothing. So, you know, we don't know about my balance sheet figures, I don't know nothing. But now, over the period of time, once you actually take the charge, and when you sit before bankers, I have experienced, a banker used to say, why don't you call your husband? I need to discuss numbers. I take care of the financial department. So you talk about numbers, I'll give you answer. I know it. You know, and then my husband, you know, there was an event where trader from Jabalpur was at my office. My husband was on tour, and he is sitting at reception. I am there to receive him, and he says that, sir, aap aa jao, bhabhi ji se kya milna hai? Bhabhi ji won't be able to explain, na? So he says, she is Bhabhi ji at home. She is CMD of my company. She knows better technology than me. So you go better and talk to her, because she is the one who decides. So it's the man in the family who gives you the respect that you deserve. So
Fantastic,
I am today here because my husband has backed me up. So, you know, the funda now is there's a man behind a successful woman. So you have to prove yourself. If you don't know it, people will not accept you.
Yeah, Priyanka, thank you for that. Let's get to Shweta, okay? I think it's, you know, I feel it's not so much about man versus women. It's somewhere women themselves have to own it up more than, because I feel sometimes, you know, men only play the part. Because you're ready to, you know, play the second fiddle, they play the first fiddle. But if you start becoming and operating like a partner, they may also end up, you know, playing with you like a partner. It's something very interesting I heard on this whole Bollywood show of Saif Ali Khan telling Kareena. And he said, when I was dating you, the only advice I got was that treat her like a man. Because she's a working woman. If you treat her like a man, she'll be totally fine. And somewhere it got me thinking that it's maybe the women underplaying themselves. Okay, so what do you think, Shweta?
You're absolutely right, Divya. Okay, I'll start with the story. That's my own story. My son was 2 years old, and I was really, you know, I was struggling with my professional and personal life. You know, I used to come around 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then, of course, finish my household chores and everything. And at night, my son, you know, because we had to change his diapers, so I used to get up around 2:30, 3 o'clock. And again, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and of course, then I had to get up around 6:30 to, you know, start my day again. So I was quite frustrated. So it was around, like, of course, my son was 2 years old, and one day, you know, my husband was at home, he was working from home, and I was shouting, and he was looking at me and he was doing his work. So I was like, can't you ask me why I'm so frustrated? So he's like, what happened? I said, you know, I need to change his diapers, I need to make him eat food, and everything, you know, everything I have to manage. And you're just sitting here and doing your work. So he said, what do you want me to do? I said, can you change his diapers at night for 2-3 days so that I can have a good sleep? And he said, of course, I can. And I was really shocked that, and I realized that since 2 years, I haven't asked my husband to help me out. Because I think men are ready to help us, but we need to ask for it, We should not feel shy that, we need your help. We need your support, because there are a lot of beautiful men. They are ready to help us. And my husband, since that day, I think I have changed my son's diapers 2 or 3 times. He used to change his diapers every night. Oh, lovely. Every night, Since I think till 5 years, he was changing his diapers. And he was like, what do you want me to do? Please let me know. Because, I'm very busy in my schedule. But if you want my help, I'm always there for you. So from that day, my perspective, it changed, because I used to think, we should compete with men, and, and it is because of men we women are not able to, do something in life. But I believe that we need men to support us, to help us out. We are definitely not competing with men. We have our own uniqueness, and we can embrace it, okay? Men, they have their own set of challenges. We have our own set of challenges. And I believe that, working together, we all know that diverse groups always makes better decisions. So working together will go a long way. And we need diverse perspectives, diverse groups.
Thank you, Shweta.
Yeah.
I just want to cut you and get Sukirti in. Sukirti, millennials, the generation that's Ubering in and Netflixing and, asking Siri and Alexa, and does not consider studies too much of a big thing, because knowledge is free fundamentally as of now at a click of a button. How do you feel they are taking up to the fact of, do you perceive things are different with this generation?
I think we had a lot of expectations. We had a lot of expectations that things would be very, very different when the millennial women came. They would be having a very different work ethic. But we find, like what she said, the same thing. 3 years in, they come and say, ma'am, I'm getting married. 2 years after marriage, ma'am, I'm going to quit because I'm having a child. So we find that this mindset, they've gotten the education, they've gotten the skill set, but this mindset has to change, that I need to work, I need to be independent, I need to be self-supportive.
Manal, you wanted to add something to it, right?
So I just want to add one point. So I think there are 2 ways to look at this. I feel the millennials that say maybe in their 20s right now that you were referring to, I face the same problem with finding people, spending time, training them, and then of course women and girls, my office is predominant, 60-70% of the employees that I hire are women. We make it a point to hire more women, to empower women, but at the same time, the career span of a woman, for some reason, for women in India, is shorter. And yes, that is due to societal pressures and the way, they think their mentality is. Like, a few employees want to take 1 year off to plan their wedding. And you spent maybe 1 year training them, and you expect them to be with you for at least 5 years. So that is one issue we do face. However, with younger millennials that are just in school right now, honestly, I have great confidence in them. Okay, because they're not like us where they have seen no technology and they have seen technology. They have grown up with technology. The world for them is very small. They are connected to everything that is happening all over the world. And therefore they're very evolved in their thinking, in what they want to do, in how they approach life. These societal pressures are not holding them back to achieve what they want, and they're
I'll
very
just
clear
take
with
it
their
there from
funders.
there. Latika, can you add a global perspective to this? When you've seen women around the world. I mean, do you feel there's a turn with the millennial generation?
Yeah, I think there's a good and a bad. There's a good in the sense, yes, you're right, they're more aware. But there's a bad in the sense, I think they all want to earn very quickly. you
True,
know.
true,
So it
true.
comes with with a slight underline, because it's not always that they sincerely understand that they have to learn the job, and that takes time. You know, they want to jump quickly from one job to the other, because the only driving force then becomes money, which is a little bit disappointing.
I'm going to open the floor now for any questions that you may want to ask the panelists. Yes, sir. Lovely. Anybody in the panel would love to take?
Yeah, sir, so, in books it is said that the one who takes the risk, practically I've experienced the one who puts in everything that you have earned till that day. Your time, your money, your energy, your assets that you have, so putting everything there in one ambition, one goal that, I have to make this company successful. And there is no backdoor, so no job and business together, so that once I'm good at business, I will leave the job. So entrepreneurship is putting 100% of everything that you have, your skill sets, your attitude, your time, your energy, in fact, your, whatever earnings that you have actually earned, because when you put everything that you have no backdoor, so you have to make it successful, so you work harder to make it successful.
I think to add to that, it's also about the fact, I think when you become an entrepreneur, I've done 2 companies now, the trust that people put in you to join you. You're no longer running your house. You're running hundreds of households. And I think that responsibility to be able to go and put out there and make it successful while making people successful with you, I think that is the true thread of being an entrepreneur, of not just shining as a single star, but making the whole tree shine with you too. Yeah. Yes, sir.
First of all, compliments to all wonderful ladies and for their skill and the hard work they put in. I guess you mentioned that marriage is the incoming way for the girls, and on the basis of that they sometimes quit the job. And so what about the women joining army? Recently the court has declared that women commissioned officers will be there. What will happen to them? What message they will take henceforth?
No, we are just talking about, sir, a trend that we see when we hire so many of the women that we work with. But I think it is one of the most welcome things. And honestly, personally, I feel it's come way too late. In a world where we are as a country and as the population size that we have, I think it's a very, very welcome decision to come in. And I think it's about competence. And I think it is time for the country to set up meritocracy as the standard in any field. Why is it to be a man versus woman? I mean, I honestly feel we are all successful if in 10 years from now, there is no summit on women entrepreneurship, because it's no big deal if you're a woman. And I think that is where we should drive as all individuals, women or men, that why is it that there is a women entrepreneurship summit? We don't do a man's entrepreneurship summit. So I think if we can all together as responsible human beings and citizens work on meritocracy as a basic layer, in itself you will get, and it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. And I think that is the day when people stop segregating us as a separate entity to highlight, to promote. That is the day when we would have maybe won the deal.
And in fact, sir, coming from a defense background, the women that choose to be in defense, they love their country. And they are going to die for the country, right? So they have chosen that, they have the passion to serve country. They have chosen their country over money. They are hardly paid, right? Now these women, even marriage is not going to stop them. Pregnancy is not going to stop them. If this kind of attitude comes in the entrepreneurial world among women, I think we are going to do very good. So the attitude is missing in entrepreneurial world. So they are not going to stop.
I think we have a question there.
What is the common denominator for success for entrepreneurship?
Sorry?
Common denominator for the success.
Common denominator for success. So, Kiti, you want to take that? Perseverance. There you go. Passion and perseverance. Now you want to...
I think perseverance, never giving up really, because no entrepreneurial journey is ever easy. It's never going to be easy. Like life, it's tough, and we just have to keep going, and therefore perseverance, I agree, is the #1 criteria to keep going. You'll have bad days, you'll have good days, but the key is to keep moving towards your goal, definitely.
You have a question? Yeah, yes.
And Dr. Priyanka. And Dr. Priyanka, how do you, being an entrepreneur, how do you build your teams? How do you build your teams in your...
Teams, sir? You know, being a startup company, 2015 when I started my company, so, you know, in the last panel, I heard someone saying that, you know, you should learn sales quickly. So in startup community, you know, you pitch. So you learn pitching your product, and you learn pitching your idea and your dream and the goal. So even hiring becomes pitching to the candidate. So if the moment I used to find a good candidate, I used to pitch, you know, you must join my company. This company is going to be big. So, you know, this is the idea. Nobody is there, no competition. It's a monopoly market. So you actually convince good candidates to join you. And once the right team is there, you train them. You one day realize that they are actually skipping for money or a bigger brand. So that's okay. So, you know, you are the master of your idea, and your business is your baby. So it has to grow no matter who comes or, you know, goes. That is what I have realized. So
Latika, you want to add to this? I think you did.
I think the two very critical areas. One is training. I think internally we keep training people. I think that's the key, really key to succeed. And in addition to that, I think you look for people who are self-driven. And I think when you put these two together, then you have a winning combination. Because self-driven candidates, boy or girl, irrespective, make for people who are very sincere to their jobs. And therefore, when you train them, they're really 100% effective. So I have lots of people who are with me for the past 10, 12 years. And who don't want to quit, not because I think the environment, one, is to learn. So I think they've moved up the scale. And in fact, I have an array of people, different kinds of backgrounds, who you'd find that the only unique or similarity amongst all of them is the willingness to learn.
And absolutely, I just want to add quickly, you know, over the period we realized that we should not probably, I'm really sorry, I'm an MBA, but we stopped hiring MBA on higher salary. We started hiring rural background boys who are probably ITI, no Excel sheet, can talk and have this motivation to grow. So they come on a very low salary, but they are very eager, you know. Even if the office boy is not there, they will, you know, serve you tea also. They'll make that also for you. And they really want to grow and do something for their family. So this, what Latika is talking about, is very essential, and this is among those who actually need the job. Rather than, you know, hiring high-class MBA students with 25,000 a month salary, they don't want to do anything.
True. And I think it's, to add to what they're saying about training, about picking the right thing, about pitching, when you build an entrepreneurship, when you build your own organization, a lot goes into the culture that you built it through. You know, the culture of, I'll tell you, anybody who joins a job essentially has only two needs. First, they want an absolutely unbiased environment. If you go and do a survey in a working area, you ask, what is your biggest crib? It's like, my boss is biased. You know, they like somebody else. If you're able to establish, that is why I said meritocracy, if you're able to establish transparency and operating parameters of performance, which are very clear and it's shown, that, you know, takes care of 90% of issues. I've run teams up to 7,000 people, I've run teams up to 200, and the clue has always been, first, transparency, okay? And if you bring transparency, it's very tough to be biased because it's driven by numbers, it's driven by data, it's driven by things. And second, respect. And it doesn't matter what designations you wear. It's about people working together. And if you're able to bring that into the culture, that will make you winning teams, irrespective of tech domains, non-tech domains, what we would bring for. So Kirti, you want to give closing remark?
One thing I would say is also understanding yourself very well, because when you're building an entrepreneurial organization, you need to understand yourself, you need to understand your strengths, and then you need to think about people that will be complementary to you. Because when you're building that core team, you're really looking at those first few people, as we said, that will build the culture, but also somebody, you always need somebody to ideate, somebody that you will work well with, and somebody that complements your skill base.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a big round of applause to the lovely ladies here. Thank you.
Thank you all of you for joining us here.